a lot in my research, as well as to be productive in both research and administration.
That's very good. And hopefully the younger women out there, if they are listening to this, or if they are going to listen to this in the future, hopefully, then they can get some good points. So Dr. Lee, what is your answer to question number 2? How do you delegate? I mean, you are a program director. I've been one. I know it's a lot of work, right? So how do you delegate the work, or related to delegate, how do you share the workload? But you also have program assistants there. So how do you delegate the work? And what's the best way for you to do it?
As I said earlier, the clear definition of different roles. There are things that staff can do. I don't have the permission to do it. And certainly there are things that I have the permission to do it, and the staff do not have the permission to do it. I want to talk a little bit about how I work with the community and the PIs. I think the 2 keywords are very important: empower and inspire. So to be honest, there are so many innovative ideas and also the research capacities that the faculty in the community, they have, and I do not have. Mm-hmm. So I try to not give like very specific ideas that will really limit the innovation from the PIs and the faculties. And then I will try to let them to know what is the priority and what we are thinking. For example, in the SASE program, and we really need the AI as one of the important components in our portfolio. And we need a K-12, and we need a way to generate more faculty in the cybersecurity. We just share those kind of what we need, and then that will give a lot of room and space for the faculty and the PI to be creative, and then to get very novel ideas. The same thing when I was an administrator and a faculty in the university, there are a lot of strengths that the staff have and the faculty have. Someone is very well organized, someone is good at the problem solving, someone has a strong hands-on skills, someone good at writing. I don't have those skills, and then I try to team them and then make sure that they have a team with complement skills so they can be successful. And my goal is always help others to achieve their goals, their career goals, to grow their career. It's not like I specifically give them some tasks and then they do those jobs. I always let them to think about where they want to be in next 5 or 10 years and how to achieve it.
I think, yeah, I've learned from both your answers. So they're really good. They're different types of answers, but I like both your answers. So let's move on to the 3rd question, and then we can maybe go through them again if anyone has anything to add. How should researchers strategize their focus? So here I would like to hear from Mei Ling and also Ying. So Mei Ling, what do you think? How should researchers strategize their focus?
First, I'm sorry I stepped out for a phone call. That's why I joined a little bit late on that.
No, that's sure. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, I think that's kind of similar to the question in the first question, part of the first question. Now
choosing research topics. Yeah, that's somewhat related, right?
Yeah, because now a lot of researchers, they try to chase the hot topic, right? But and in my own opinion, I don't really agree with that, because I think for good researcher, for good research, he or she needs to focus on the area that he or she is interested in, and then stick to that at least for a certain time to kind of actually make a contribution to that. Okay, so to strategize, their focus would be trying to see how the research work that they can do can actually contribute to the society. Right, so that I think that's instead of chasing hot topic, that would be a better strategy for any researcher to grow, to be able to let people know what they are doing. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my view of that.
And Karuna, what do you think about that? How should researchers, now you are I wouldn't call you a junior researcher, so hopefully you will be I'm sure you'll be an associate professor soon. So you're going to be more like a mid-level researcher. So what do you think? How should someone strategize their focus? And as Mei-Ling says, it's very somewhat related to number one, right? Choosing topics. So how should a researcher focus? Maybe in a mid-level career, I'm asking.
Right. So I agree with the observation that it is quite similar to the first question.
Right.
And you know, I think how do you strategize your focus? I really liked Daphne's answer where she said, well, as a junior faculty, I was mainly focused on getting number of publications higher. So I did go for the low hanging fruits, if you will. But I understand the strategy is now to get into the deeper mode and to now take a topic that would be something that I am passionate about. As you mentioned, you know, if I love doing that topic, then obviously I should. So speaking from personal experience, because in my previous role, I did go through the challenges of how do you manage the data across the organization, etc. I took that as my focus going forward. And I identified things that were missing in the technology or in the processes or in the way things are being addressed. And that helped me strategize my research and also focus it out and saying, you know, I understand as an end user what the pain points are. And if I know those pain points, maybe there are some, you know, technological or research questions that have still to be answered to address those pain points. So I think that and talking to the end users helps us strategize our focus better because they are facing the daily grind, right? And that's a reason why the industry seems to come up with many of the technological innovation over academia is because industry people are working very closely with end users who are facing the pain points of technology or processes or, you know, the novel approaches that are coming. So that's my approach is that, yeah, we need to get into the, you know, more communication, open communication with the people who are going to be ultimately using the research output, which are the, you know, the average consumers.
That's good. So my question to Ying, I don't want to go to the fourth question yet. Any of the first three questions, maybe you can select one that you feel, you know, most comfortable and where you can contribute, and what answer would you give?
Yeah, so I think I agree the number third and number one, it's kind of similar, but anyway, it's a major concern, like where can I, you know, I think, you know, the number third question is how you strategize your focus.
Yes.
Actually, many people, depends on which stage of their career they're in, especially for junior young people, they actually don't know where they should focus. They follow the trend, they read the top publications, they found, oh, this is a cool method, I'm going to tune this part and apply in another things. So I will say they're like just chasing the trend and they actually don't know their focus. I think the very important thing is build their focus. The focus has to follow their passion. I mean, you really love, I see some students really love computer vision. You cannot force them to do something like, let's do like security. But they dream computer vision. They just, when they look at the computer vision algorithm, you just like their eye just light up. But if we ask them to read security article, they just kind of just, I think this passion is so important for you. You being educated as an undergraduate student and graduate student, you being explored so many opportunities. You work with faculties and you really know where your passion is, you know, the big direction. Okay, right. So I think once you try to strategize your focus, you have to first understand your big passion, because spend 5 years without your passion, it's kind of where it's like in prison, like it's not good. Or you, so without passion, I believe you will never have a creativity. People always say, why don't be creative? Because you're in the wrong place. Can you ask the fish to climb a tree? So fish can do really well in the water, but you have to ask to climb the tree. You know, I believe every kid, every human, they were born, they have their uniqueness in their life, but it takes time for them to figure out where is their uniqueness. And many of them actually in the wrong place. Their creativity not being discovered, maybe that for the whole life, for their whole life. I think we as the educator, we just try to inspire, you know, like what Lee said, inspire them to figure out where is their passion, and then to see where they're focused. I really don't like people chasing hot topic. I know AI and data science is important, and I also know it's not the people's problem, it's also the rewarding problem, the whole system in academia. The rewarding of promotion or tenure is actually you have to have a certain number of paper in certain journal. They don't care what you do, but hey, go to that journal. But then they have to study that journal, what topic they like or what topic has high risk. You know, for junior faculty, they don't want to try high risk, very interesting research because they're afraid their research will not, get into this journal because if you especially doing like transdisciplinary research, it's very hard for you to get the journal in your field that is required for tenure promotion. So now, like in the stage later on when you get tenure, now you can suddenly try many things. So we tried many new things. We go to the journal, we usually get very easily in, but now they think they don't understand topic, it's not the topic they like because it's kind of new thing. So they get lots of rejection. But I think we have, for me, I have the space, I can take this objection. I won't change it because I think that's the way I have to go back to educate my community that we should do this innovation rather than stick to the old things forever, not for, just have to see the new things come from other community. We have to learn from them. But for all these young
okay, so let's go to the next question. That's something we've all been, I think, it's sort of haunted most academics. What's the best attitude towards paper proposal rejection? I'd like to hear from some of the researchers first, and then hear Lee's opinions on that. So let's hear, anyone who wants to talk. Elisa, you want to start that?
Yeah, sure. I think, yeah.
Elisa, with your success rate, I don't think you get anything rejected. So maybe I shouldn't
No,
ask
I do. Okay, I'll wait. Okay, yeah.
No, please answer. Yeah.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, please answer.
Okay. Well, so, having a paper or a proposal rejected is a fact of life. This happens all the times. Usually, I try to take those rejections with a very constructive attitude, especially when the comments are really clearly wrong. And otherwise try to blame myself. I say, okay, perhaps I didn't present very well the ideas, the concept that the people didn't understand. And so I try to improve. In general, this is the way you should do. At the end, especially for papers, I realized that when you have a good ideas, other people, which sometimes they're jealous, they want to shut out competitors. It happens to me that a certain topic, very few people were working and they didn't want anyone else, I know for sure. Because even these people were kind of tweeting around and things like that, but at the end, if you have a good ideas, of course, they can reject your papers, but the people will notice good work. The good work will have an impact, especially because more and more you can put papers in website, in public archives, you can make your work known. Okay, of course, for your students, it's very important to have papers in top conferences. And that's why we play this game. And this work is good. You just fix your paper, work hard, and sooner or later will be accepted.
So
for proposals, things are more difficult. But to be honest, in the US, there are a lot of funding opportunities. A lot, so you just needed to look around, improve your proposals, and sooner or later some will be accepted. So, but always try to learn something from those rejections. Don't get desperate and say, "Oh, I'll never succeed." No, you will. Sooner or later, just keep improving.
So, anything else others would like to add? Daphne and Ling?
It's exactly what Elisa said. And I think don't blame on yourself. And of course, it's almost inevitable blaming on yourself. But then after a while, you feel like, oh, okay, what, it's just no way to please all the reviewers. And because sometimes they just gave me crazy comments. There was one comment that says, your paper is too rigorous for a security conference. You should submit it to programming language conferences, because that's what rigorous work goes to. And then you're like, and then of course your student would almost cry, and you keep telling them, be strong. And then eventually they figure it out. And so it's tough. It's I would say, advising wise, that's very tough because the students spend a lot of time. But then it's just, you notice, I'm a security researcher. I know there's no absolute security, and so therefore, by induction, there's no way to absolutely please everyone on everything. And so, but then hopefully there are more people who can recognize the value in your work.
So Dr. Lee, you are managing proposals right now. So what is your advice to PIs whose proposals have been rejected? What would you tell them to do? Go and cry, or what?
Yeah, we know that making the decision is very important for the PI, especially the junior. They may just wait for one proposal to get the tenure. So the NSF always look at the intellectual merits and broader impacts. And for every proposal, we will have at least 4 reviewers, and then they will discuss this for about 2 days, and then to make a decision. Mm-hmm. So my recommendation is keep trying. Some program has a higher chance, some program has lower chance. And also it's fit or not fit. I heard from some PIs, and they did not make a huge change, and they submit to a different program, or they just try a different time of the year. And then the result is totally different. So don't get frustrated, and feel free to outreach to the program officers, and then they may share some of the things that may not included 100% in the summary, and they can remember some of the dynamics during the discussion that can give you a very good feedback, help to increase the chance of success in the next round. Some of the PI may be very conservative, and they want to put like the best proposal. They may only submit 1 or 2 proposals 1 year. And some PIs consider it as like a bi-weekly or monthly exercise. They always submit. So that's a difference. And yeah.
That's good to know. And this is very good advice, I think, whoever is listening or who is going to listen. So if you notice that I'm not asking lots of questions, because this is a women-only panel, since Stanford WIDS has women speakers. But towards the end, maybe I'll ask him to comment right at the end. So the next one, what's the #1 thing that you would like the data science field to improve? So this question, I think I'm going to ask Ling Liu, and Eunice, and let's see, Mei-Ling, and very brief answers, okay? And then Ying, if you can answer.
Okay, for me, I think for the data science, to me, that I would say that even though the data is one of the golden resources and for the data science, but we should not blindly believe the data analytic result, and we should add many factors as a human. We have learned over many years of history that what considered to be good, because ultimately we do research, we study, we want to improve human lives and the human societies overall the overall environment, rather than just bluntly listen to data. Because even for same data, using different algorithms from a different angle to analyze it, they can derive completely contrasting results. So that's why it's actually very important. Just like 5 humans sitting together, they may not agree on a lot of things. Now, the same data with 5 algorithms running on that, they may not agree on the same thing. So it's very common that we shouldn't believe in data just bluntly. That's what I think.
So Mei-Ling, what do you think about this?
Okay. The first thing I actually kind of don't like, or maybe I think we need to change the kind of general kind of concept is that a lot of people feel like data science is more kind of application. You know, they look at that, you are just applying some algorithm or methodology and then use the data to extract the information and then to kind of demonstrate the use of that.
Yes.
So they kind of look, that's my kind of idea is that they look at them as just application, try to, it's similar to like in multimedia, for example. You know, people look at that, you know, this multimedia, you just use a lot of different sources of data, and then they look at this area as a more application oriented type of area. And I think data science seems to also kind of go toward that way, at least so far as I can see it. So I feel that data science we should kind of make people look at that as that it has its own signature. So they have to kind of agree that we have to agree that we need to make some fundamental contribution. We need to let people realize this is a field that actually has its own technique, has its own existence purpose on that, not just an application.
I think I like both answers. So Karuna and Ying. So Karuna, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So one of the things that I would want to improve in data science field is the digital divide, because a lot of data is being collected by organizations that sort of end up with a monopoly of that data, and researchers do not get access to much of the data for analysis, or they may get differentiated access. You know, some researchers might get more access, others may not. So it's very difficult to do research if there is this digital divide. So that's one thing I think that the data science field should improve upon, and maybe academia can lead on it and say, if we have a data that one academic has access to, then they will try and ensure that others in the field will also get that access, so that it can be a fair field.
That's good. And so digital divide. And Ying, you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I think the number one most important thing for data science to advance, I think it's important to connect to the domain science, because data science is like computer science. It's like, it's a method, it's a theory, it's a theoretical data algorithm to make sense of data. But without understanding the domain, it's very hard for us to figure out whether we develop the correct prediction algorithm. And can we really, the thing we predict to really address the problem? For instance, they always use link prediction to predict friends. They think the friends of your friends will definitely be your friends. But actually people think this is wrong, because the friend of friend might be your enemy. That's also very important things that we have. The data science program, we generate with lots of talent student, but they can build fancy algorithm, come out with all this prediction and nice figures or images. But how to interpret this? Really make money. And you really need to hire another MBA student to talk to them to generate that kind of data science output into real actions. And I think there's the gap between generate from real data scientist output into real action. How to connect them, it's important. And maybe this like a bioinformatics is like biology and computer science. The data science have, this different domain connections, I think is important.
That's a good answer. So Eunice, I want to answer this question. The next one, number 6. What can employers do to empower their women employees?
So I think that there are a lot of different ways. one of the things when you want to empower women employees is to actually empower them, put them in positions in which you can see that they have a role towards leadership. There's been studies that show that, you know, we're not struggling with finding women mentors, but we're struggling with finding individuals that will put women in opportunities and positions. And that's been sort of the thing that it's really great that you have a cohort of people who have experience telling you about things, but it's part of getting you through the door onto the next step. That's actually been one of the things that has been slowing down the pipe. And a lot of institutions are now realizing this, because there are many ways to have opportunities that have already been built in culturally into an organization, but somehow they don't necessarily think of a woman being open to that opportunity. And universities and stuff, you know, are performing climate surveys and all of these kinds of things to start to understand where there might be some breakdowns on this, because there is a wealth of fantastic women out there who should really be given these opportunities based on, you know, just the quality of what they're doing and the potential of them. And organizations really need to understand where they might be failing on that.
So that's a good answer. So let me give you an observation, just this conference, these 5 days, okay? Since we had so little time to put this together, because we had planned to postpone it, you know, by latter part of February, we were discussing, all of March, we were having back and forth. So first of April, we made the decision. Okay, so we advertised this entire event equally to all the registrants, about 2,000 people registered. Okay, so we had this room, but if you look at the people who have attended the different conferences and workshops, okay, and we equal marketing of this, not a whole lot, but we marketed. The first keynote had about 500 participants. Okay, Johannes Gerke's keynote, which was very good. That was Tuesday. Monday workshop, Latifa was mentioning to me, there were each of those workshops had over 100 participants, at least the ones he went to. And then Tuesdays, I think we had about 300 and something for the keynotes. Wednesday also, sorry, that was Wednesday. And then Thursday's keynotes probably had slightly less, about 280. So the second one was about 350. The third day was about 250. Now for the women's workshop today, for when Margot was talking, we had 50 something, or 50 to 60 people for the first keynote. Okay. So I was wondering, again, remember, we should have marketed this to a lot of women, but our goal was to keep this women in data science, conjunction with Stanford, do something nice, to put it all on YouTube, do a nice documentary, write a report, and really publicize this. And so that for next year, we are going to have it ICD, hopefully in Athens, and we can continue, and then maybe we have to publicize it to women. So my theory, after observing these 5 days, that maybe men are not, I am happy to see that some of my male students are in the audience. And thanks to Latifa, right? He's shown us a lot of support. But in general, I think men may not be interested in attending a women's event. Meaning, I don't know. I'm just, yeah.
Of course, there should be ways to communicate that this is meant to be if the goal is to have joint attendance, perhaps it's not clear who you were looking for potentially as individuals to join this, right?
Right.
The other thing is putting on a Friday. In some ways, if you want this type of meeting to have equal footing at a conference, putting it on a Friday on the last day may not necessarily be the best day for these kinds of things, right?
Yeah,
so it's where do you give it center stage to show how relevant and important it is a possibility of looking at the scheduling. And I just wanted to reemphasize something that I was saying about opportunities before. When I talk about opening up opportunities to women, I'm saying these are opportunities that are typically already out there, but people don't automatically think of a woman to give that opportunity to. And part of this is organizations are realizing that they're not thinking through all of these things.
So Eunice, I understand it's a Friday, But other than that, we advertised it equally to everyone. So for a moment, I thought, are the men thinking that they may not, these are women talking, we may not learn much from them. But let's say we had, they won't call it men in data science because there's nothing like that, but 10 top men, because we have 8 top women who have given talks and an NSF program director, which is very prestigious. So, but if we have 8 top women, men, and an NSF program director talking, I'm sure a lot of us women would have gone to listen to that. So that's something I really want to put it out there. I'm not accusing men that they are not coming. They're thinking, oh, what can we learn from women? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm hoping that this, hopefully when they listen to this, that they will hopefully maybe think that, yes, women have something great to offer. You know, we have got, you know, presenters from Stanford, from Purdue, from Austin, from UMBC, from UIUC, from Georgia Tech, right? From University of Miami. So all of these top universities who are presenting, and so surely we should have had more, considering that the other conferences, like even yesterday morning, we had 200 something, you see? So maybe something to think about. And so the other thing then, somebody was telling me, oh, that you really need to advertise this a lot more to women. But no, we want to get women and men to come and participate, right? So that's something I want to think about and talk to the person who is organizing it next year. Oh, actually, I was emailing the lady from IEEE, Carmen Saliba, who was very, very supportive. Okay,
so I think what's important is to make sure individuals know that this is open to everyone, right? Because I have been asked to attend meetings that are geared for women and been told that the participants are all expected to be women. And so if there's confusion there, that might be one of the first steps, because you're right. This is a fantastic group of people, and it is shocking in some ways to see the differences here. And so part of it is hopefully part of it was maybe some confusion that can be cleared up. And if not, that means that there are other issues to look at more closely.
Right, but if it had been just this workshop and we had 50 something participate virtual with COVID, I would have been very happy. But when we had 500 on the first day versus 50 plus today, then you wonder. Okay, so next question, let's say, how to say yes and no at work? Should women say sorry? And again, this is something I got from Daphne. Some female self-help articles say women should not say sorry. Because I know that men hardly say sorry. That's something we discussed, right, Daphne, at your workshop? Because men really, on the whole, I noticed that many men do not want to say sorry. Whereas women, we are the first ones to say, I'm sorry. And that's what we found Daphne's workshop. So Daphne, do you want to answer that question? And then Ling, what do you want to say? Daphne? Daphne, are you there? Okay, I think I saw her, maybe she might have just said. Ling, do you want to talk about that?
Okay. For me, I don't say sorry a lot. but
that's what I would have thought, right?
I felt that it's a character of a person. So in general, if you say sorry, if you can still express your idea, saying sorry would help you to position yourself to make a strong statement, then saying sorry is fine. I think generally, saying sorry or not is not the only thing. It's right after you say sorry, what do you want to say? So if something that happens that you disagree, but you want to first say sorry before you make a statement, which probably it will be okay. I think that people would still hear you. And the goal is you have to, as a woman, when we raise a agreement, is nobody even care because you agree. When we raise a disagreement, then we need to provide a very solid evidence why we disagree, because otherwise you will not have people listen.
Right, that's a good point. And also you don't want to just say sorry all the time. unless that's a very good reason.
Right.
Right? And
right.
I know women may say more sorry and they shouldn't say as much. Does anyone else? Karuna, do you want to answer that question? Yeah.
So,
but you say no at work. I mean, boss is fighting you with lots of work. This happens more in companies, I think.
Right. Maybe I can answer the first one, how to say yes and no at work.
Yes.
You know, I think I have the.
Because you worked for the World Bank, didn't you? Before you
in the
joined,
IMF, yes, in the International Monetary Fund. So one of the approaches that saying yes is easier than saying no, obviously, because you want to show initiative, you want to show team, work, etc. But one of the approaches that I think works for no is that, instead of outright saying, I don't want to do it, you say, I don't have the time to do it, so help me prioritize, right? So if you go and tell somebody, well, I would love to do this, but I don't have the bandwidth. So if you think it is more critical than the existing work I'm doing, then take away my existing work so then, I'm not overloaded. So that's one of the approaches I've used for saying no, is that I sort of, explain to them why I'm saying no. It's not unreasonable. It's just because I don't have the time to do it. And then most of them, like I had my chairs tell me to do some more service. And I went and told my chair, well, I would love to do the new service, but then my old service will get, a low priority. And she was fine with that. She's like, yeah, okay, I'll remove you from your old service. So that way it worked out, So I was saying no, but I was sort of including them in the part of the no decision making, saying, well, I want to say no to this new one, but if you think, no, the new one is more important, has my higher priority, then I'll say no to the old one. That's my approach, I think.
Okay, so that's interesting. So next one, maybe Mei-Ling, you can answer that question. Because you have three children. Is there a best time to start a family, kids? Because I went through, industry and everything, had my son quite young, and then, developed my career and so on. So it's a little bit different. So Mei-Ling, what would you say?
I think this is very hard to answer because I don't think there's a so-called best time to start a family. It all depends on each individual. Okay, so when the person knows that it is time to start a family, to have kids, I think they would know that. Okay, so for example, like for me in person, I feel that you don't want to start a family or have kids when you are too old, in the sense that you want to have the time to enjoy the way to stay with your kids, to have to grow with them for that. Okay, but you also don't want to have kids too early in your career, so it might kind of delay your own career in some sense, that because you need to spend more time on that. Okay, so it's very difficult to say when the best time. I think each one has to look at his or her own kind of situation and then to decide on that.
Right. So I think what I think Daphne's question, she had put this question, right, was more to do with the 10-year clock and the children, right? So that was sort of the challenge. Daphne, do you want to add something? And after that, we'll move on to the next question.
I think Mei-Ling's answer is perfect. There's no correct answer. This is
right. What I would say is every situation is different, right? Yeah. So the next one, this is for all of us, I think. What is your most stressful kind of moment at work or at home, and how do you deal with stress? I mean, let's just focus more on the work aspect. So maybe, let's see, Elisa, if you want to talk about what's your stressful moment. Although Elisa, you walk on water, so I can't see you stressed anytime. But anyway, I'd like to hear whether you get stressed.
Say I don't feel very stressed at all. Actually, I'm very, because I like my job, because I feel lucky that I can do a job which I like, which I am passionate. So for me, sometimes I think, what if I had to work in a factory doing a repetitive job, something, like being just pushing paperwork around. And then I say, I'm very lucky, so I cannot be stressed. So basically, I don't feel much stressed at all. Sometimes, of course, have things which can annoy you a little bit, like something gets broken in the house. But always things, those are very small things, you know. So sorry, I'm the wrong person to ask this
that's
question.
What I thought. I just wanted to get, you always seem on very, very calm. Okay, Ying, what do you, Ying, and then Dr. Lee. So Ying, what is your most stressful kind of moment?
I think I try to avoid this stressful moment happen. So to do this, to avoid this happening, I actually prepared, plan things in advance. So I never do my deadline the last moment. I always finish my things like several days in advance. So basically, I'm very relaxed, even when things getting approaching the deadline. I think deadline is one of my stress, like pressure that I feel like once I have a deadline, I kind of feel like I need to get it done. But if I get done earlier, this is a very smooth drive for me. Mm-hmm. I think stressful moment it's like a 10-year promotion that year, and it's pretty stressful because you can work really hard for the first 5 years and did your application. And once you submit, it's actually becomes stressful because you don't know what is the result and it takes a year to figure out the result. And it's nothing you can do actually during that time. I think that's a quite stressful moment for me. But in general, I seem like Elisa, I really like my job, and I think I'm really very lucky and fortunate to have the job I love and to work with all these students. I love to work with them. I can do anything that I'm interested. And I was wondering in the COVID-19, the situation, if I work in other place, I might be laid off, or I might have to change to another company and jump to the project which I'm not familiar with and had to show the result in next day or next week, so I'm just really very fortunate.
And something, you and Elisa are very similar in that. And one other thing I want to add to it, because in the culture where I come from, and also Latifa comes from, the South Asian culture, right, and Karuna, we three come from different countries, but all from South Asia, the Indian subcontinent. So in that part of the world, they always say medical doctor is like God, right? So that's what everyone, when they grow up, what do you want to be? They always say, I want to be a doctor. And that means a medical doctor. Although my husband says doctor means really someone with a PhD, if you look at the Latin meaning. But anyway, but you talked about COVID, Ying. So when you think about COVID and the medical doctors, I mean, they are sort of at the front line, especially, those who are working in infectious diseases and emergency. And the others are, of course, not really doing anything. They should be going and supporting, the doctors who are working. So they are really, like soldiers fighting the war. They are right there in the front line. And so that way, so they are really doing a noble thing. So what I'm saying is, we are very fortunate in the careers that we have, so we have to be very thankful. So one thing to the people listening out there, especially the junior faculty, because you still have time to motivate yourself and grow, what Elisa and Ying have said is that if you can do everything, every day and enjoy, then it won't be really stressful. But for tenure, you do everything, but it's still out of your hands because some person who has a grudge against you could topple you. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and I want to add to that, and this is also leads to a question for Eunice. I don't know whether she's still around. So there are things that are out of my control. And I, get frustrated when people don't see my potential as a leader, as a research potential, and because maybe my race, my gender, who knows, and so it's not really. It's and I see that more and more as I'm moving towards. I'm a full professor now. I'm moving more towards higher, more challenging positions, and so I just see that coming from lots of directions, and that's very frustrating and stressful. And of course, I try not to think too much about it. And sometimes I'll say, okay, I don't care about being in a leadership position. You know, maybe I'll just do research, you know, for the rest of my life. But then you just kind of wonder, what if? And I really like what Eunice was talking about, the challenge. And so I want to ask, is there any simple fixes? And I know it's probably no, but then sort of, you know, I've been building, you know, my support network, you know, Lisa put me in so many leadership positions, and I want to just, you know, but then, you know, there is also institutional wide and so on. And so what are, you know, either lighting at the end of the tunnel, you know?
So Eunice, you want to answer the question, what Daphne is asking?
So if I understand,
because you're the highest ranked among us in academia, you're a dean, so you have to answer that question.
Well, I think what Daphne is asking for is a combination of how to build the path and also at the same time coping skills because of all the ways that you get slowed down, right? Yeah. You know, so it's a long winding path. I mean, that's unfortunately part of the reality here, you know, and part of this also is it's a combination of things. I've been at 5 different universities. I've moved, and every time I moved up the ranks and got promoted and all of that, but each one had their strengths and had each of them were, I had great fit, and then there were also things I didn't fit well in, right? So part of this is how much within the system is changing, how much you can help it change, but it's not all on your shoulders. It's where the institution is going, because at some point, you also always have to judge, are they going to be there at a timeline that makes sense, both for you and for your expectations, as long as your expectations are not overly, you know, out of the main. And then you have to take a look at the opportunities that are there, right? So I've made the decision to move from one institution to another, obviously 4 times, and one was a good move.
But every time, I would tell you though, every time Eunice has done better. And if there's anyone who is just calm and collected, she's brilliant, you know, PhD from Berkeley, but still she's an excellent negotiator. If you want to learn negotiation skills, and you need to get some advice from Eunice, I'm telling you. I can't do what she does. She's brilliant. Anyway, Eunice, sorry. I hope you're not upset with me.
Well, that's a separate workshop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so, you know, part of this is, it's that coping skill as well. Mm-hmm. You see what you can get done. You see what you can shape. And then you also realistically look at what maybe the opportunity is going to come. Maybe it won't, right? And I think sometimes the hardest ones are, you see it, you can almost touch it, but you still can't get to it, right? And that's sometimes the most frustrating and stressful if it's about your professional life. And part of this is the realization that you got to put this all in perspective to see, is this the right time, right place, and right organization for that path? And if not, then you have to decide which of the variables you might want to shift here, right? Sometimes it's just not the right time in your life. I mean, life is much more complicated than our careers, right? And you know, but there's also then, but is this organization the place where you're trying to build the things you think are important, right? And so you got to balance all of that out. And you want to work with folks who can help give perspective and give you sometimes contrary advice, because they're looking at it from different viewpoints, but that they care about what your future is, so that they're giving you straightforward advice without trying to sugarcoat it, but without being mean. I want to make that very clear. Yeah. But so that you can get the perspective that you need, because that's part of it, was when you're in the middle of it, you have to figure out if you want to zig and zag, or if you just want to keep just going forward on that particular track. There are many ways to be successful, and you're always deciding which path is the right one at that time, as long as you have a long-term goal and you're not just always zigging and zagging just to get somewhere, because then you might not get anywhere, right? And I know it's a calmness that has to come at a certain point, because you can only control so much of life, right? But you can control the things that you're good at, that you're shaping piece by piece. I guess that would be the advice I would have. I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, that's extremely helpful. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I have really benefited, you know, talking to Eunice. I've known her now for how many years? 12 years. and we really, I really benefited. It's been wonderful.
So can I ask a question in the middle?
I don't know whether you, yes, please ask the question.
Okay.
Right, that's fine, because we will.
Where can I, how can I learn, how can I learn negotiation skill well?
Okay, shall I tell you something, and then you need to talk to Eunice. Or Eunice, you could charge all of us.
Yeah, please charge, please charge.
No, but what I'm saying is, after talking to Eunice, right, I don't know whether I can do what she does. Okay, she's very good. Anyway, Eunice, why don't you answer Latifa?
Well, I'm always happy to mentor people in negotiation. I'm going to say this is that negotiation is a very personalized thing. Each of us have our own ways of how we negotiate and also how we react to negotiation, right? I mean, for some of us, it's much more stressful, and for others, it's just part of the process of negotiating a strong offer, right? So part of this is, the first phase is kind of understanding yourself, how desperately you want the job, and where you're willing to draw, how willing you are to fight for the resources you want, and how much, it's all a balance. And a part of it is thinking it through in your mind, because people think that you should just go in and be a killer negotiator. That's really not what it is. You really want to create the opportunity for yourself and for your group to do well. And it's not about just getting the next item or the next item. It's about really knowing what it is that you need, and having the organization show you how much they want you to go there and do that for them, and other things that they're looking for, right? I think sometimes it's a perspective issue in order to figure, and that kind of gives you a calmness as you go into looking at the things that you really need and want to ask for, and what it is that you want to see from this organization that is really trying to recruit you. Again, I don't know if that's helpful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I think there was a problem at my side with the internet, so I was disconnected.
Oh, you can follow up with Dr. Eunice Latifa. So I just want to hear Ling. Ling always seems very happy-go-lucky to me, and I've known Ling for, I don't know, what, 25 years, Ling? More than that. Yeah, about 30 years I've known you. Yeah. No, less than, maybe 25, 30 years. So Ling,
yeah,
you seem very calm all the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're talking about what question?
Yeah, mine. That's what we're all interested. Stressful. What's the stress? We have only one more question, but this is important, I think. Number 9.
Number 9, right? The stressful kind of a moment.
Yes, for men and women, it's important, especially for women.
Okay, if to me, a person should have a moment of happiness and should have a moment of angry and unhappy moment. But you just cannot let the unhappy moment kill your happy moment. So if you don't have an unhappy moment, probably you don't have a really, really happy moment. So that's why I think these two things are in some way related. Just we have to learn to not making things that cause us unhappy to stay with us too long. Because sometimes when you are unhappy, it stimulates some kind of energy in you that maybe you can do better next time. So right. That's why I think it's not something we should avoid stress or not able to deal with it. It's rather we don't let something bother us too long. If something really bothering us too long, we are not able to get out of it, that means we are not suitable to fight for it. Just let it go.
That's good. And Dr. Lee, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I consider the stressful moment is both adventure and opportunity. I had stressful moments. There were a lot of, which is very common in many institutions. There will be women faculty could not receive equal opportunities, and they have to deal with a lot of unfairness in their career. They take a heavy workload. But I think in those moments, what we need to do is put our feet on the ground and then unite and get support as much possible as we can. And after we go through those moments, we become stronger and friendship becomes sweeter.
Mm-hmm. So I can say that the only way I handle stress is I just meditate and then it sort of gets better. So let's go to the last question. Should one feel bad when telling people that she, especially in women's case, needs to skip, reschedule, cancel work due to family reasons? Take care of mother, take care of father, take care of a child. Because sometimes when women do that, people look at it negatively, I think, than men. So what do you think that we should do? So Mei Ling, do you want to answer that question?
Okay. For me, I do not feel bad because I think family is always the highest priority to me. Right. So as long as I can take care of my own responsibility well, and when I have some emergency that I need to go, I need to skip meeting, or I need to, you know, cancel some meeting, you know, I will make up to that later on. But at this moment, I need to take care of my family. So I don't feel bad about it.
So this question, maybe Karuna can answer this too. So the way I look at this question, being in academia, it's not really a very, you know, sort of a, I wouldn't say serious, but it's not as relevant as it's when you are in the industry. This is really, you know, when I was in the industry, I mean, this was very important. Meaning that if you leave, right? And Karuna, you were in the World Bank.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I actually had this moment where I was supposed to lead a very important meeting where, you know, and I was supposed to, and then my daughter, who used to go to the daycare in the same organization as I was, you know, working in, she had a fever or something. So the daycare said, you have to take her back. We can't keep her. And so, you know, at that time I had to actually, I couldn't cancel the meeting because it was already called. And so then I had to give it to delegate it out to someone else who then took that credit, obviously. So at that time it was irritating. On post facto, it didn't matter too much, but at that very instant, you know, I was like, oh my God, now what do I do? Because, you know, there was no, I couldn't just bring the baby into the meeting room because the baby was not well. So I think, yes, we do face this, at least in the industry where there is very little accommodation, as academia has much more. And I think that's why I like academia, and that's why I moved to academia, because they are much more cognizant of.
But then if you have to teach, you cannot take the baby as well. So.
Right. I know, I agree. And I'm sure there must be some instances like that. But that was one instance, you know, and I was feeling angry at myself that I'm angry at, you know, something that I had not thrown over. It was a very interesting.
Well, so originally I wrote this question, I was thinking, sort of, do women need to pretend to be men in the way, and I, for a certain long period, I was trying to hide all these from my colleagues, from my students, and then it's to a point that you just cannot hide anymore. And obviously you have this family duty, and it's very important, and then the kid relies on you, and the family, you know, I'm living with my parents, and then they count on me, but I would say, you know, and I understand a lot of people, a lot of female professionals, they will feel guilty, but you know, really no need to feel guilty, because in the sense that the people who think that my family duty takes me away from work, they will probably look down upon me anyway if I don't show them I have my family side. And if they have the bias, they will just have bias anyway.
That's true.
I may have as well, just to, you know, make sure I get things done. And so, but I think this is, you know, I have, you know, people coming to my office, they'll say, the first thing they ask is about, you know, my family, you know, as if that's all I do. And it's just, you just cannot make them take you seriously. And I just see that so often. I was like, okay, fine, you know, and so, but don't feel guilty, don't feel bad. To the young people, you just have to do what you have to do.
So again, be yourself. That's the main thing. So I have the audience, we still have some there. If you have any questions, I know you can't, from in this particular webinar room, you can't speak, but you can write the questions within the next couple of minutes. If you can do that, then we'll be able to answer your questions. Sorry, I didn't mention that. There are 20-something people. So if you have any questions, you can write in the question answer Q&A, and then we can maybe answer your questions later. Or if you want to do the chat and ask the questions, please feel free to do so, okay? So one of the reasons in the webinar room is that we don't have the facility for people to ask questions unless we make them panelists. So again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write these questions. I mean, there's chat, and you can also use Q&A. So what I'm going to do, because I want to see what they are doing in chat, let's see, we don't have anything yet, and I can't find chat here. So I'm going to stop sharing this. And at this time, I don't know what happened to chat. Do you see? Oh, here's chat. Okay, chat is still here. Okay. So do you, at this time, or they can even send me emails and I can send it to all of you all later. So anything that you want to add at this time, it's 5:39 East Coast, it's 6:39, so it's getting quite late. We wanted to finish around this time. So is there
just one quick thing, Bhavani, if everyone can switch on their camera, then we can take a picture, because we couldn't take a picture.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not in the picture.
Could you please turn on your cameras, everyone? Dr.
Daphne,
Lee,
please,
Elisa.
can you take the picture?
Pardon?
Daphne had taken the picture. If she can just take it again.
Daphne,
yes. But Latifa, oh yes. Latifa, you have horrible lighting.
Okay.
Well,
so Ling, you're not there. Ling?
Okay, let me go.
Yeah, what about Ling? Has she
yeah,
left?
Ling is not here.
Ling, are you there?
Well, okay, let's do it without her. Let me try to get my shortcut. Okay, I would say 1, 2, 3, and then you know. Okay.
I should look at the mirror. The camera.
Yeah, look at the camera, right? Yes. Let me see. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Wait. Sorry. Hey. Oh. Okay. Let me see. I think. Let me take it. Let me do
Lee
it
has
again.
come. Lee is not here. Okay, never mind. Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Okay, let me just take a look, make sure everyone's eyes are open.
Yeah. And we can always, it's all going to be in YouTube. And then our keynote speaker.
Excellent.
Pardon?
Oh, thank you.
Excellent. This is great.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ling is not here. So we would like to thank Dr. Lee. Are you there? Lee, I think she's left too. We'd like to thank her for her support. And I'm really hoping that this has brought all of us together closer and some new connections. You know, so hopefully, you know, Ying and Eunice and, you know, you have a good synergy there. And then there is Karuna, and then Daphne, you know, you've met Eunice now. Then Latifa has all these questions. Latifa, do you want to say something since you are the ladies' man here? Thank you, Latifa, for your support. Because
no problem. I just want to add my experience when I work with the students. So I saw that when the female students work in a collaboration with other students, they become more productive and produce very high quality results.
Okay, so what Latifa is saying, his observation, when female students, when female students, what are you doing, Latifa? When female students work with, what is he doing? When female students work with other female students or when they work in teams?
As a team, yeah. It doesn't matter male or female.
When women work in teams, they become very productive. Does that, do you all observe that too? So essentially you're saying men can go on their own and work, but women like to be in teams, right?
I don't know, but that's my
yeah.
Maybe
so
we are more
pardon?
Maybe we're more social beings by nature.
I think so. I note that too, because when
gatherer more, right? We want to gather together. We don't want to go alone.
Right. Elisa, do you have any comments? Because, you know, Elisa is the most brilliant out of all of us, most productive.
Yes.
Do you have any comments, Elisa, on this?
No, I think what will be very important, perhaps in
next
the
year.
future, for the
Yeah.
future editions, to have some focus panels,
Yes.
which will allow the audience to ask more questions.
Yes.
Mhm.
So again, as I said, Elisa, this is hurriedly put, and we wanted to have this so that we have the first with Stanford. We want to continue with Stanford because that way we won't, we will work together, we'll all benefit. And so let us focus then on focus panels. Okay, let's all work together. Very likely it's going to be based in Greece. I don't know how we are going to work out the times, okay, but I'd like a virtual panel so we can all participate. And Dana will also be involved, and so will Latifa. And so focus panels, maybe a keynote talk, right? And then instead of today we had the talk format, focus panels, let's also invite more industry next year and more global participation. Like this year, I could have asked Elena and some others, but because we had so little time, I thought it would be much easier for us to work everyone in the US. So focus panel, global participation, okay, and not have it on the 5th day, because one of the reasons is that, you know, when we have day 5, then it becomes, you know, many people will want to leave, although it's all virtual, right? So we want to have it maybe first day.
I'm saying you may be exhausted, so it's better to start on the first day or second day.
Yeah, but second day is the main day, so maybe we should have it on the 3rd day. Okay, in parallel, right? And then it'll be nice for men to speak, but the WIDS things, I want to keep it with WIDS. So that, you know, and one of the things that IEEE is also very interested in doing, that ICDE, Stanford and IEEE. So this way all can benefit. You know, this year it was free registration for everyone except the authors. So the authors paid, I don't know, $300 or $300 per paper. So we had about 250 or 300 authors, including workshops and so on. Everyone else, it was free. But we want to charge maybe even $50 or whatever for this workshop. I don't know. But we'll discuss as a team. And I'd like the people who are here to be really involved. And also Dr. Lee, I know now you are, you know, at NSF, hopefully you'll be involved next year too. And then wherever, when you go back to your university or whatever university, then you can, hopefully you'll be continuing to be involved, because you are you are, because of you that we are able to have all of this and the documentary. And I'll be writing a report on all the notes I've taken and everything. So, one of the things I would like, and Latifa, that's something that hopefully you can help, is to get, because we're going to get a student to help with us, is to get all the presentations from everyone so that we can post all the presentations in the report. So we'll have a, not a paper report, of course, a report where we put all the presentations. All the presentations are out there right now on video format, but let's have the presentations in the static format so that that will accompany the report. And then we are also going to have the lessons learned, the pros and cons of having a virtual workshop, right? And also what went good this time, what didn't go well, in the sense we had a short time to prepare, some of the things that we want to improve already. I've got a list from you guys and ladies. And so anything else that we want to discuss? Otherwise, it is now almost 5:50 p.m. Central Daylight Time, 6:50 p.m. And I would like to thank all of you, right? And Carmen, also IEEE, on behalf of IEEE, the Stanford WIDS, ICDE 2020, the ICDE Steering Committee, the ICDE Technical Committee. So all of us, and the organizing committee. So all of us had to work together to make this happen. And if not for all of you all, we couldn't have had this special day. And I'd also like to thank Dr. Margot Gerritsen, because the founder of WIDS, she was able to, you know, get us going and start this, you know, start the keynote. And otherwise, anything else? Latifa, is it recording? Yeah, it's recording. So once we finish, once all of you are log off, Latifa, if you can stay here, please, and we have to stop this recording. I want you to stay.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you.
Nice
Really appreciate.
meeting you
And thank you, Dr. Lee.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
She has lovely penguins at the back. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
Yeah.
So you want I should
Okay,
stop
how
the-
do we stop it, Latifa?
So let me figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop video. Okay, stop record.
Okay, so Latifa, thank you. How do you think it went today? Very good, right?
Yeah.
Oh, audience who are there, they've left too. The participants, I can thank them. Participants, thank you very much. All the participants. Because, and y'all asked some excellent questions. And, right, and so, right.
So I'm going to stop it now. I figured it out.
Second, I want to thank all the audience.
Sure.
Excellent
You have 7
questions.
participants here.
Yeah. No, we had 50 something, and
No,
then
now you have 7.
So they
They're
logged
leaving.
off. For the panel,
Yeah, they're
we had
leaving.
24. For the panel, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you very much, participants. We still have 7, and so we are going to close it. Right. So we have. Thank you, Anmol. Thank you, Falak, Ayano, Guling, Muhammad Imran, and Rongjin. They are the 7 ones who are left. And so, how are I going to stop the recording?
I saw a button. I'm going to stop now.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. This is the end of ICDE 2020.
Sure.
Thank you. It's still recording.
Pause recording, stop recording.
Is it?
Converted to when the meeting ends. The recorded file will be converted to. Okay, I can give a pause. Do you want pause?
Or stop?
Stop doesn't work some reason.
Okay, why don't you do pause?
Yeah, I pause now.
So why is this saying recording?
Use maybe in your.
Oh, I can do stop recording. Should I do stop?
Yeah,
Because I think I'm the host.
yeah, it's better you should do. And I'm leaving the room.
Yeah, okay, stop recording. Do you want to stop cloud recording? Yes. Right?
Yeah.